You probably think it's very easy to find information these days, right? Want to learn about a new animal species? Wikipedia may have an article for it. Need directions to a location you've never been to? Google Maps got you covered. Don't know what a word means? We have Merriam-Webster for that. But can you imagine living in a world where the internet wasn't even a thing yet? How about smartphones? Computers? Books? Even modern science? Pretty hard, isn't it? In a world where our attention spans are being cut short by Instagram reels and fast-evolving information, it's hard for things to be remembered without a long-lasting physical medium to preserve them. You might be thinking, how are we supposed to explain things without these technologies? Well, if you ask the Sumerians, the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Greeks, or even the Norsemen, they have quite a creative solution for that. The word myth comes from the Greek word mythos, meaning word, humor, companion, speech, account, rumor, or fable. A lot of these meanings come from the fact that myths were often passed down through oral tradition. Not everyone was good at reading or writing stuff down back then. It is also because of this that there wasn't a uniform explanation for a lot of things, like how the world is created or the cycle of day and night. In the Babylonian creation myth, Enuma Elish, the first gods were Apsu of fresh waters and Tiamat of salt waters. Apsu was then slain by his own children, who taunted their mother Tiamat into starting a war. She would be killed by the sun god Marduk, who creates the cosmos with her remains. In Norse mythology, a frost giant named Ymir was slain by Odin and his brothers to create Midgard, the land of humans. However, that is only one of 9 worlds linked to the world tree. Science tells us that the Earth revolves around the sun, the moon spins around the Earth, and the Earth rotates on its own. However, the ancient Greeks believed that 3 different gods are responsible for the cycle of day. Helios, god of the sun, Eos, goddess of the dawn, and Selene, goddess of the moon. But then, Helios and Selene's roles would be shared with 2 Olympian gods, Apollo and Artemis. Meanwhile, the ancient Egyptians have a cool story for this. Their sun god, Ra, carries the sun on his boat. At sunset, he sails into the underworld, where he battles the serpent god of chaos, Apophis. Every single time, Ra would come out on top and bring sunlight back to the surface world. In other words, sunrise. But in some versions, it's not Ra all the way, only during midday. At dawn, he assumes the identity of a divine scarab beetle Khepri, and in the evening, the creation god Autumn. Besides explaining concepts in a creative manner, myths also serve to reflect qualities significant to certain cultures. One core theme in Homer's Odyssey is xenia, which means guest friendship. A sacred value in ancient Greece, the general idea of xenia is that a good host treats their guests well, while the guest must also respect the host. Failing to respect the rules of xenia is, to the gods, punishable by death. 10 years after Odysseus left his kingdom, Ithaca, to fight in the Trojan War, his family and palace workers had to deal with 108 suitors being at their worst guest behavior, eating all the food and drinking all the wine. Some suitors, like Antinous, even plotted to kill his son Telemachus. So, when Odysseus returned another 10 years later, Athena gave the green light for him, Telemachus, and 2 of his loyal servants to slaughter them all. Curiously, ancient cultures that have existed far from each other could still find common ground on certain topics. The subject of an afterlife is a great example of this. After all, death is something we think about a lot. What happens after we die, and where do we go? Many cultures and modern religions believe in the existence of souls, and that every soul, depending on their deeds in life, holds a different weight. Good souls get special treatment like reincarnation or living happily in a better realm, such as Elysium or Valhalla. In an age of science, it's easy to see myths merely as entertainment because of the discrepancies and the lack of evidence to back them up. No 2 tellings are the same. You can even make your own today, whether through songs, drama, or fiction, and still earn an audience because of what you're retelling. But think about this as well. At the end of the day, hadn't they done the exact same things we are doing now? Devoting our time figuring out how the world works, what qualities are or aren't worthy of praise, processing moments in life through stories about love, loss, conflict, brilliance, growth. If the line between fantasy and reality were a river, myths would be the bridge. It would be silly to believe everything about them, but they are a valuable resource for understanding and connecting ourselves with different perspectives from early civilizations. This is why when we go back in time to study ancient literature, we undeniably would have to start with myths. We obviously got better at explaining things, but the spirit of all those myth makers from centuries ago survived to this day through us. And here in the world of literature, we honor that spirit.